Bethlehem village is in the tribal area of Judah. How is it that amongst the 12 tribes of Israel, this one tribe, Judah, should earn the honour and the privilege of having Messiah born in one of her villages? Well, to understand this, we need to go right back to the book of Genesis, because in Genesis we're tracking the story of God's promise. We know that Abraham is given a promise from God that all nations will be blessed through him. And then the promise passes from Abraham to his son Isaac, and from Isaac to his son Jacob. But then Jacob has 12 sons. And so you think, to which one of these is the promise going to pass? And Judah is fourth born. So that's unremarkable, not very special, easily overlooked. There's more important people above him. There's more favoured people from Jacob's other wife. And so how is this promise going to come to Judah? Well, his three older brothers, Reuben and Simeon and Levi, they all do things to disqualify themselves. Reuben sleeps with his father's concubine. It's a way of making a play for leadership, saying, I want my inheritance now, Dad. And he's disqualified. Simeon and Levi, they show excessive violence in vengeance against Shechem. And so they will also be disqualified. And Judah, actually, the fourth born, is just as bad as his other brothers. He's complicit in attacking their half-brother Joseph and in selling him to slavery. He's in just as much a mess as the others. But then we find this woman, Tamar, steps into his life. And Tamar is a Canaanite, an outsider, a foreigner. But she confronts Judah. This woman makes a man of him. She calls him to account. She speaks truth to power. She confronts him. She's got like a prophetic voice. And Judah realizes that he's done wrong by her. And he holds up his hands and he says, I've done wrong. And he's the first penitent in the Bible. He's the first person to hold up their hands and go, oh my goodness, I take responsibility. I've messed up. I've done wrong. And we see that that's the turning point in Judah's life. After that, he begins to be someone who takes responsibility for other members of his family. And we see it most especially when he goes down to Egypt and his half-brother Benjamin is in danger, is being threatened to be put in prison. And Judah steps in and says, don't take him, take me instead. He says, don't take him, take me instead. He offers himself as a substitute, as a sacrifice. He says, rather than him suffering, let me suffer. And really this is the moment that we see Judah qualifying himself for leadership. Because in the Bible, leadership is all about sacrifice and substitution and responsibility. And so when we get to the end of Genesis and their father is giving blessings, prophecies to each of the sons, we get to Genesis chapter 49 and Reuben is disqualified. Simeon and Levi are disqualified. But then he gets to Judah and he says to Judah, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, and to him shall be the obedience of the nations. And he calls Judah a lion. And so in Genesis chapter 49 and verse 10, we see this promise is now given to Judah. And so it's going to be through the line of Abraham, through the line of Isaac, through the line of Jacob, and through the line of Judah that eventually our Lord Jesus will be born in the tribal area of Judah and in the town of Bethlehem. And so it's important as we track the family tree to see that this character Judah, he's called a lion, but actually he shows leadership by being a lamb, by offering himself as a sacrifice. And much, much later in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, we'll see this shout go out about our Lord Jesus. Behold the Lion of Judah. And John will say, and I looked and I saw a lamb looking as if it had been slain. He looks for a lion, but he sees a lamb. And so we have here this promise passing to Judah that from his family in his tribal area will be born one who will be the Lion of Judah, but will show leadership by taking responsibility through self-sacrifice. Our Lord Jesus.